Hey guys, so I am back with the little ON18 layout that I was working on that originally I built the cut down boxcar for, and today we're going to be covering building this little structure for the corner. So let's talk about it. Alright, so let's jump into Illustrator real quick so I can show you how I came up with the files that then got sent over to the laser. So in short, I've been trying to do some of my simpler design work over here in Illustrator. I'm not going to lie, it is a little trickier at times than working in Fusion 360, strictly because I can't make a 3D model of it and then pull things out and everything like that. So that is a little bit of why I had issues, but that's neither here nor there. So this is the main building front, if you will. And what you'll notice is the two different colors. I'm not going to get into the super details of it, but K40 Whisper likes RGB. So full red gets you a vector cut line, and full blue gets you a vector engrave line. It just helps me differentiate so I can run different speeds and different powers. So you'll also notice I drew in some details to simulate like there were multiple boards. And then down here at the bottom, obviously we have a lot more boards making up our foundation. Now if we come over here, this is what eventually became the back panel. Originally there was a rectangle in here because I was thinking I was going to totally recess the door, which I ended up not doing. So I had to go back and recut this and also slightly reposition things, but it's not that big of a deal. And here's the final bougie part, if you will, which is the herringbone door. Now, the way this should have been drawn, and for some reason I decided to do it otherwise, is it shouldn't have this outer part. It should just be this cutout, but I didn't realize that was the way it had to be, so oh well, no harm, no foul. As you saw, it's super easy just to change one thing and we're good to go. Doing the herringbone was actually pretty simple. I just came along and drew a bunch of 45-degree lines, mirrored them, and then just ran the seam down the middle as you would have on the prototype, and that's how I pulled it off. So, while it's not a tutorial on how to draw this, and you could totally do it in another program such as Inkscape, I'm only using Illustrator because I'm trying to learn it, so that's that. Now, off to the laser. Alrighty guys, sorry if I'm slightly cut off. I'm trying to find a balance between me and what I'm working on. So what the plan here is I'm going to use this Micro Mark gluing jig. I'm not going to lie, it's not my most favorite thing. It's not as accurate as I thought it was going to be, but for assembling this, I think it'll work just fine. So I did my usual tab and slot. So what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of this Gorilla Super Glue Gel. And just apply a tiny amount to this. Wiggle that back and forth to get it spread. And then I have some Bob Smith Industries Kicker. Picked up this 8 ounces of it over at Marty's Hobbies back in my hometown. Whenever possible, I try and support my local hobby shop with things that TSA will let me bring back through the airport. This definitely would not fly with them. No pun intended. I picked it up one of the times I drove down. But I'll just put a little bit of that on there. For those who aren't familiar, Kicker pretty much is exactly what it sounds like. It quote unquote kicks super glue. So it pretty much just instantly makes a joint. You do have to be careful. It does make some heat. Definitely has a little bit of a smell. It's got all kinds of glorious chemicals in it, but it's amazing. I absolutely love it. Well worth keeping around. So we have our corner piece done. So I've just temporarily masking taped the faux door in there. Yeah, that side's down. So to kind of give you a better idea, that's what it's going to look like. So the next step for this will be I'm going to come along and off camera, I'm going to paint the inside of this just gray very quickly. Doesn't need to be perfect. The idea is just so that way we don't see the wood behind when we have our windows in there. And, you know, it kind of just creates the illusion of depth. So let me go ahead, take care of that. And then what we'll do is I think we'll also paint this door here and kind of weather it. I'll paint it off camera, we'll weather it on camera. And I'm thinking I might do this as two separate colors of stain, or actually paint the top and then probably stain the bottom. The bottom is designed to kind of be like a railroad tie style foundation. So we'll go from there. All right, so I've come along and just painted these parts gray. I decided to cover the whole thing just in case there's any areas that didn't get hit. So we're gonna set that guy aside. It's of no use right now. So what I did is I painted the panels and I used some masking tape on the bottom because I've come along and done a separate laser engraving pattern on there, which looks really good. So peel the tape off because we don't need it. The one thing I will say that is kind of nice about peeling the tape off is it also inadvertently distresses the wood for me, which is nice. So it's kind of a 2 for 1, which I like. So here we have our front panel, looks really good. And then obviously we have our door insert with the really cool herringbone pattern. I quite like that look actually. It's something I've noticed on a building when I'm driving to and from work and I've gone, hey, that actually looks really cool. Maybe I'll model that. So there we have the front and the door. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is this bottom part, I'm pretending it's like a railroad tie foundation. So we're going to use our good buddy Hunterline stain here. I've got the creosote black, the nice dark stuff. $1.25 store brush special here. And we're just going to apply that on the bottom there. All right, let me cap that guy up so nothing happens. But, oh yeah, I'm digging this. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these panels to the backing plate, essentially. And then what I'm going to do is come along and we'll install the door near the end so nothing happens to it. But let me go ahead and I think I'm going to use my rubber cement for this. So let me get that. Hopefully this time the cap will open. All right, we got some glue on there. We'll let that sit. One thing I will say that I do like about using something like this is the fact that when you let it have effectively the skin on it, and you can pretty much push the two pieces together and they stick, that is helpful. Now, one thing I probably should have done, but I did not do, was come along and actually trace out the locations of the windows and doors and stuff. I don't think it really matters. Okay, that's coming along really good. So we're just going to keep that like that. Then we'll come along and do the same for the other side. All right, I'm going to keep the right-hand side clamped a little bit. It needs a little more time, but this is coming along good. Now, all right, so now we're on to the question of the windows and the glazing for them. Tichy does include some glazing. The only thing is trying to install it is somewhat tricky because it is in multiple pieces. So I might go ahead and do that off camera. And then what I'm going to do is just spray the back with a little bit of clear coat, some matte clear, which kind of helps to frost it. So you can't really see through and notice the gray background, which is what I'm trying to avoid. So let me go ahead and do that. Give the glue ample time to dry, and then we'll come on back. All right, guys, so this is where I'm calling the structure for the moment. And hear me out on the reason why I say that. The main thing is there's a lot of fine detail work I can do to this. I'd love to install a roof and all that stuff, but I also know myself. If I start jumping down that rabbit hole, before I double check things are going to fit, I'm going to run into the problem of, oh, it looks really cool, but I can't run anything into there. That's a minor problem. So I'm going to stop at this point and do a little finishing touches. I just need to sand this edge down, but I can do that over at work. We have a power sander, so it makes it way simpler. But overall, for a project that I came into with honestly zero idea of what in the world I was going to do, I am super happy with how this turned out. I love the details such as the herringbone pattern door on here. It looks cool. I'm not going to lie. That's the only reason why I did it. Why not? It looks cool. I also love the two-tone effect of the red top on the building and then the darker stain for the faux ties that are the foundation of this building. I think that looks super awesome, as well as the windows with the gray background. It kind of gives the illusion that there is more to be seen, but obviously it's not there. But I didn't want to go ahead and try and print a fake interior or anything like that. Didn't think that was necessary. So I hope you guys enjoyed following along with this build. Obviously there were a few hiccups along the way. It's honestly me trying to rush and get things done, but you know what? That's something I need to work with, but hopefully you guys can learn something useful from my mistakes. Let's face it, we all make mistakes. So as for this project, I'm going to work on some other portions of it, and hopefully you guys will tune back in to come along and see that when it happens. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you here next time on Make It with Calvin.